Hey everyone, ready to dive deeper into the world of steroids. I bet you think you know the basics, but today we're going way beyond the headlines.
We're going to unpack the real science behind them.
Yeah, beyond just like gym bro stereotypes and all that.
Absolutely.
So to get into it, our main source today is this amazing YouTube video.
It's great.
From the Institute of Human Anatomy. It's called What Steroids Do to the Body. And they explain some really complex medical stuff in a way that anyone can understand. It's like they take you on a trip through your own insides to show you exactly what's happening on a cellular level when you take steroids.
It's a fantastic visual resource.
Yeah. So one thing that really surprised me right off the bat was that most steroid users aren't actually pro athletes.
Right. That's a common misconception.
Yeah, I always thought it was mostly pro athletes trying to get that extra edge.
The truth is, it's everyday people who make up the majority of users.
Interesting.
And they're often focused on aesthetics, getting that certain look.
So just regular people who are, I don't know, maybe feeling pressure to look a certain way.
Exactly.
Okay, so before we get into the effects of steroids, I think it's important to clarify what exactly we're talking about.
Definitely.
Because, my grandma uses cortisone cream for her arthritis. Is that the same thing?
That's a great question, and it highlights an important distinction.
Okay.
We're specifically talking about androgenic steroids today, which are synthetic versions of testosterone.
Oh, okay.
Those are very different from anti-inflammatory steroids like prednisone, which is probably what your grandma's using.
So, completely different categories?
Yes, different mechanisms, different applications, different side effects.
Okay, so basically we're talking about testosterone, but on turbocharge.
In a way, yes. And the video does a fantastic job of explaining how your body actually produces testosterone naturally.
Oh, cool.
It all starts in your brain with a tiny structure called the hypothalamus.
Wait, the brain is involved in making testosterone? I had no idea.
Absolutely. The hypothalamus is like the control center for your hormones.
Wow.
It sends a signal down to your pituitary gland, which is another gland in the brain.
Oh.
And then the pituitary gland signals to your testes and says, hey, it's time to make some testosterone.
So it's like this whole chain of command happening in our bodies.
Exactly.
Right.
And it gets even more interesting because there's a feedback loop involved.
Okay, now you've got me intrigued. What's a feedback loop?
It's how your body knows when to stop producing testosterone.
Oh, okay.
Think of it like a thermostat.
Like for your house.
Exactly. As your testosterone levels rise, the hypothalamus senses that. And it's like, okay, we're good. Shut down production.
So it's not just cranking out testosterone endlessly.
No, it's all about maintaining this delicate balance.
Gotcha.
And this is where using steroids really throws a wrench in the works.
Oh.
When you introduce synthetic testosterone, it disrupts that delicate feedback system.
Oh, that makes sense.
And that's one of the main reasons for all the side effects we'll talk about later.
Okay, so we'll definitely get into those side effects.
We will.
But before we do, I'm curious about how steroids actually work to build muscle.
Sure.
The video talks about anabolism versus catabolism, and I have to admit, I didn't totally get it.
Yeah, those are big words.
They are, but the video makes it sound really important.
Well, they are, but it's actually pretty simple.
Okay.
Think of anabolism as construction, like building things up.
Like putting the bricks together.
Exactly. And catabolism is demolition, breaking things down.
Okay, got it.
Steroids promote anabolism, so they increase protein synthesis in your muscle fibers.
So they basically give your muscles the building blocks to grow bigger.
That's a great way to put it.
So it's not like magic. There's an actual biological process happening at the cellular level.
Exactly.
That's cool.
And here's the thing. The effects of steroids go way beyond just muscle size.
Oh, really?
They also impact fat storage, recovery time from workouts.
Oh, wow.
And then, of course, you have the masculinizing effects, what we call androgenic effects.
Right.
Which can lead to a whole cascade of changes throughout the body.
And I guess that brings us to what's considered too much, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember the video mentioned something called supraphysiological level.
Exactly. And that's a really important distinction.
What does that even mean?
Supraphysiological basically means exceeding what your body would naturally produce.
Oh, okay.
So if you're using steroids therapeutically, like to address a hormone deficiency, your doctor is aiming for levels within a healthy range.
Right.
But when people start taking way more testosterone than their body is designed to handle, that's when things can get dangerous.
So it's kind of like overclocking your computer?
That's a great analogy.
Like you might get a temporary boost in performance, but you risk frying the whole system.
Exactly. You're pushing your body beyond its limits, and that's when those unwanted side effects start to kick in.
So let's talk about those side effects. I mean, some of them are pretty well known, right?
Yeah, like shrinking testicles, for example.
Yeah, that's the one everyone always talks about.
Yeah, the infamous testicular atrophy.
But why does that even happen?
Well, remember that feedback loop we were talking about?
Yeah, with the thermostat.
Right, so when you flood your system with synthetic testosterone,
Okay.
your hypothalamus gets tricked.
Mm.
It senses those high levels, and it's like, hey, we're good. Shut down production.
Oh, wow.
So your testes aren't getting the signal to produce their own testosterone anymore.
So they just, like, give up.
Essentially. And it's not just size, it's function too.
Really?
Yeah, sperm production takes a hit as well.
Wow, I never knew.
It's because another hormone, called follicle-stimulating hormone, which is also released by the pituitary, gets suppressed too.
So your testes are basically getting a double whammy.
Exactly. The
Okay.
cascade of hormonal disruptions.
And this isn't just a guy thing, right? The video mentioned something about women developing male characteristics.
That's right. It's called virilization.
Virilization, I heard
Because
about.
these steroids are mimicking testosterone, which is the primary hormone driving male development.
Right.
Women can experience things like increased facial hair, a deeper voice,
Wow.
even changes in their body fat distribution.
So it's like kind of the opposite of what they're probably going for.
In many cases, yes. It highlights how unpredictable these hormonal manipulations can be.
And what about that thing where guys start developing breast tissue?
Ah, yes, gynecomastia.
That seems counterintuitive, right? Since we're talking about a male hormone.
It is surprising,
Yeah.
but the thing is, some steroids can actually convert to estrogen in the body.
Wait, seriously? So you're pumping in all this testosterone,
Yep.
and your body's like, nope, I'm going to turn some of this into estrogen.
It's a bit of a hormonal switcheroo,
That's wild.
and it can lead to the development of breast tissue in men, which is obviously not what most guys are aiming for.
No, definitely not. So we've talked about some pretty heavy stuff here, but are any of these side effects reversible?
That's a great question, and it's where things get a bit complicated. The short answer is that it depends. A whole bunch of factors.
Okay.
The individual's age, their genetics,
Okay.
the type of steroid they use, the dosage, how long they were using it.
So basically there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Exactly.
That's tricky.
Yeah, it's why it's so important to understand that steroid use isn't a simple equation.
Right.
There's this complex interplay of hormones, individual factors, and potential risks that need to be carefully considered.
And we haven't even gotten to some of the other serious risks, like cardiovascular problems, right?
Yeah, I haven't, and those are definitely things we'll want to discuss as we continue this deep dive.
This is heavy stuff, but it's so important to understand the whole picture.
I completely agree, and that's what we're here to do.
All right, well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive, but there's still much more to uncover.
Definitely.
So make sure to join us for part 2, where we'll explore the psychological and societal factors that contribute to steroid use.
We'll dive even deeper into the complex web of influences that shape our perceptions and decisions.
It's going to be fascinating.
It will, I promise you that.
So until then, stay curious, and we'll catch you in the next part.
See you soon.
Okay, so we've talked about how steroids can mess with your hormones and lead to some pretty serious side effects. But it makes you wonder, like, why would anyone risk all of that?
Right, that's the big
It's
question.
like, what drives people to use steroids in the first place?
It's a complex issue, and to really understand it, I think we need to consider the societal pressures.
Okay.
There's this immense pressure, especially today,
Mm-hmm.
to achieve a certain physique.
You know, it's funny you say that because I remember scrolling through Instagram a while back,
Oh, yeah.
seeing all these fitness models with, like, ripped abs and just these perfect bodies, and it made me feel like I could never measure up.
And that's exactly the point, right?
Yeah.
We're constantly bombarded with these idealized images of physical perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, a lot of them are unattainable. Even with intense workouts and
Yeah.
really strict diets,
Yeah.
it creates this feeling of inadequacy, this pressure to conform to these, like, unrealistic beauty standards.
And I guess steroids seem like a way to bridge that gap.
Precisely. It's a shortcut,
Right.
a way to achieve those results that might otherwise be out of reach.
But, like we already talked about,
Yeah.
it comes at a hidden cost.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the individual side effects.
Right.
There are these ripple effects that can impact families, relationships, even the fairness of competition, like in sports.
It's true.
When someone uses steroids, it's not just about them.
Right.
It affects everyone around them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And when you think about it in the context of sports,
Yeah.
it creates this uneven playing field.
Yeah.
It's not just for professional athletes, even at the amateur level.
Right.
And it raises all these ethical questions about fairness, integrity, and what does athletic achievement even really mean?
It also makes you wonder, like, are we saying that natural bodies aren't good enough?
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
It perpetuates this idea that we need some sort of chemical enhancement
Right.
to be worthy of admiration or success.
It's sad.
It is. And it's important to remember that a lot of what we see,
Yeah.
online and in the media,
Mm-hmm.
it's so carefully curated, filtered, photoshopped.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a realistic representation of how people actually look.
Yeah, it's so easy to forget that sometimes.
It is, but it's easy to get caught up in those comparisons,
Oh, absolutely. You start to think you need to look a certain way to be accepted
Yeah,
or valued or whatever.
That's where I think we need to shift the conversation.
Okay, how do we do that?
I think we need to start by challenging those unrealistic beauty standards
Yeah.
and promote a more holistic view
Okay.
of health and well-being.
So instead of like focusing on getting that six-pack or whatever,
Yeah.
it's about like valuing strength and beauty that comes from within.
Exactly.
Mm.
It's about recognizing that true strength,
Mm-hmm.
it lies in resilience, in overcoming challenges, and in being comfortable in your own skin.
I like that.
And true beauty
Yeah.
is about embracing your individuality, not conforming to some, arbitrary standard.
That's a good point. So I guess part of that is like being mindful of the messages we send to ourselves and others.
Oh, sure.
Like, are we just like chasing external validation?
It's a good question to ask yourself.
Yeah.
What are you chasing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you willing to sacrifice?
Yeah.
Are you making choices that actually align with your values?
This is making me think about all the pressures we face in a world that's so obsessed with appearance.
It's tough.
It is. It's like everyone's chasing this idea of perfection
Mm-hmm.
without stopping to think about what that even means.
And it's not just appearance, right? It's about achievement, success,
Yeah.
this need to constantly be striving for more.
Yeah.
But that striving can come at a cost
Right.
to our mental and physical health.
It's like we're always running towards this like finish line that keeps moving further away.
That's a great way to put it.
And I guess steroids offer this tempting promise of like getting us there faster.
Like a shortcut.
Yeah, but as we've seen, there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Absolutely not. There are always consequences,
Yeah.
both for the individual
Yeah.
and for society as a whole.
So it all comes back to respecting our bodies.
I think so.
Yeah.
Recognizing that they're incredible, complex systems
Yeah.
that deserve our care.
And understanding that true strength and beauty come from nurturing those systems, not trying to manipulate them.
Exactly. Well said.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
It has.
We've really gone beyond just saying steroids are bad
Yeah.
and actually explored all these complex factors that contribute to their use.
That's fascinating stuff.
It is. So what do you think the main takeaway is for our listeners?
I think the biggest takeaway is that steroid use
Yeah.
is often a symptom, a larger problem. And that problem is our culture's obsession with achieving this idealized version of ourselves.
So it's not just about individual choices.
It's not. It's about challenging that obsession as a society.
Right. And that takes all of us.
It does. It's about promoting body positivity,
Yeah.
celebrating diversity,
Mm-hmm.
and recognizing that strength and beauty come in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
We need to create a culture where everyone feels comfortable
Yeah.
and confident in their own skin.
And not pressure to look a certain way.
Exactly.
This deep dive has made me think about my own relationship with my body.
I think that's really valuable.
Yeah, and the pressures that I've internalized over the years.
It's important to be aware of that.
It is, and it's made me realize that true strength comes from embracing my imperfections and celebrating my own version of beauty.
That's a powerful realization.
It is.
And it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's about letting go of those self-critical voices,
Right.
embracing a more compassionate and accepting view of yourself.
Because chasing perfection is just going to make you unhappy.
Often, yes.
So what should we do instead?
Instead, let's focus on cultivating health and well-being
Okay.
in all areas of our lives.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
Yeah, the whole picture.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah,
I think we should leave our listeners with a question.
I like that.
What does strength and beauty mean to you?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
What values do you want to embody?
Yeah.
And how can you make choices that align with those values?
Yeah.
and that support your overall well-being.
We've covered a lot of ground,
We have.
but there's still more to explore.
Definitely.
So make sure to join us for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll discuss how we can move forward as individuals and as a society.
We'll tackle the tough questions and explore some solutions.
It's going to be an insightful conversation, so stay tuned. All right, so we've gone deep into the science of steroids, looked at the risks, and even talked about those societal pressures that can push people towards using them. But, now what? We know all this stuff. How do we move forward?
Yeah, it's tough. There are no easy answers here, but I think recognizing that steroid use is often a symptom of a bigger issue is key.
Yeah, you're talking about our culture's obsession with achieving that perfect body image.
Exactly. It's like we're constantly bombarded with messages that say we need to be thinner or more muscular or whatever.
It's everywhere, right? Especially on social media, where it seems like everyone is just showing their best, most airbrushed selves.
That's a big part of it. It's so easy to get caught up comparing yourself to these unrealistic images.
Oh, absolutely. It makes you feel like you just don't measure up. So how do we even begin to challenge these beauty standards and create a healthier environment?
I think it takes a multifaceted approach. It starts with being mindful of what you're consuming. Pay attention to the messages you're taking in.
Okay, so choosing to follow social media accounts that promote body positivity and diversity.
Exactly. And focusing on your own journey. Celebrating your unique strengths and qualities.
Instead of trying to be someone else.
Exactly. And remember, health and well-being are about so much more than just how you look.
Right. It's about taking care of your whole self.
Yes. Your physical health, mental health, eating well, moving your body in ways you enjoy, and building those positive relationships.
Okay, so those are all individual choices, but we need some bigger changes too, right?
Absolutely. Systemic change is essential.
Okay, so what kinds of things?
Well, we need to challenge the way the media portrays beauty. Promote more diverse and inclusive representations of people.
So everyone feels seen and valued, no matter their size or shape.
Exactly. And we should support organizations that are fighting for things like body positivity and eating disorder awareness.
Those are important causes. And just having more open conversations about these pressures we all face can help too, right?
Absolutely. It helps to know you're not alone in this.
Right. This whole deep dive has really made me think about my own relationship with my body.
I think that's great. Self-reflection is so important.
It is. I've realized that I've internalized a lot of pressures over the years, and it's made me think that real strength comes from embracing my imperfections.
That's such a powerful realization. It's about letting go of those self-critical voices, being more compassionate and accepting of yourself.
And realizing that chasing perfection can actually be harmful.
Often, it is. It sets us up for disappointment. So instead of focusing on that, let's focus on cultivating health and well-being in all areas of our lives.
Yeah, like you said, the whole picture physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So as we wrap up this final part of our deep dive on steroids, we want to leave you with a question. What do strength and beauty truly mean to you? What values are most important? And how can you make choices that align with those values and support your overall well-being? We hope this deep dive has given you some new insights and a better understanding of this complicated issue. Remember, real strength comes from within, and true beauty is about embracing your authentic self. Thanks for joining us on this journey.